Hey guys, welcome to episode number 20 of The Rookie Hunter. My name is Mike Peterson. On this episode, we're just going to do a recap of our successful hunting trip last week in the Kootenay region of British Columbia. So just going to kind of hear about some of the things we're going to do for next season, maybe some of the things we would do differently, how the events sort of unfolded and created a successful opportunity for us. Also want to remind everybody to go to our website, which is theRookieHunter.com. From there, you can find all of our gear recommendations, links to our social media, all that stuff is on there. If you want to send us an email, our address is theRookieHunterPodcast@gmail.com. You're welcome to send us questions, show ideas, all that stuff. Just let us know where you're listening from, and we'll either read your email on the show or get back to you. Other than that, Kelly and I are going to be talking about upcoming hunt here. We've had a pretty good season so far, but we're not quite done yet. So you're going to hear a bit about our plans for the rest of the month here. So I'm going to leave it at that. You guys know what to do. Sit back, relax, crack a cold beer, and enjoy episode 20 of The Rookie Hunter.
They
a little lobster.
It's like a society where if you don't have a perfect match, you have to go to this hotel. And then if you don't find a perfect match within 40 days to get married to, then you have to pick an animal in advance of what you would be turned into and let out into the wild if you don't find a partner. So he chose a lobster because they live up to like 100 years. Huh. But yeah, it's just an odd movie. It's more of like a Sundance type movie. So, and then they go hunting for loners and they tranquilize them out in the woods. Like just these random people walking around with ponchos and stuff.
Weird.
It's an interesting movie.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. The Lobster. It was a 99-cent rental on iTunes.
Oh, nice. The Lobster.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, welcome to episode 20. Number 20, Kelly. Not
20,
bad.
That's pretty good.
That's a solid number right there.
Mm-hmm.
So we...
just for that, we'll
cheers.
Have a beer.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We haven't really been doing our beer pairings.
No, this one is Steamworks Pumpkin Ale. Do I have the... Oh, I got the bottle here just to make sure. Yeah, Steamworks Pumpkin Ale. Vancouver. I'm pretty sure Steamworks is based in the Gastown district.
I think it is. Actually, I know it is. I've walked by there a bunch of times.
Yeah, and I think they have a restaurant there.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool place.
Yeah, right on the water.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, man, it's been kind of weird settling back into reality. I don't know how you feel after that last adventure.
Yeah, I've shown so many people that picture. Just today at work, I was at one of our buildings there and showing a bunch of people, and it's awesome. Everybody's stoked. It's such a big animal. It's not like we were looking for the biggest animal. It was really a fluke that we even got that. But it's pretty cool that the first elk that we all got was probably the biggest one we'll ever get.
Yeah, man. Well, so today we're going to do a recap. We'll come back to that, but I posted the photo on one of the forums, and I think the guy was sort of a veteran hunter, and he said like that's a once in a lifetime kind of thing you guys got right there. So for that to be our first elk, and just to be the most beautiful animal you've ever seen, like I'm sure there'll be more elk, but that one was pretty special. So
yeah. Definitely. Well, hopefully we can go back to that same spot and find some that his offspring.
Some of his offspring.
Yeah.
Just take out the whole family.
Yeah. The thing I like about the area we were in was that it's very thick, but at the same time, there's burns and cuts in limited areas.
Yeah.
So you could go in there and you kind of... I have a feeling that if we were in there in September and doing more of the calling,
for sure,
and we had guys like paired off in different burns, we might do pretty well.
I agree.
So maybe I was kind of thinking maybe bumping that trip up into September next year.
I think so too. Yeah.
Full blown elk hunt with calling and everything.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Cool. Well, let's let's come back to this whole thing because I think we still have lots to talk about regarding the last trip there. So let's get a couple of emails out of the way. Let's start with, we got one from a guy named Aaron Donnelly, and he wants us to do a PSA, and I would agree with this, just to let everybody know that Meat Eater is actually on Netflix Canada. I'm sure it's obviously on in the States too. And they have seasons 5 and 6, but I saw that they had put up a tweet, I think it was either Ranella or Meat Eater, asking for people to rate and review the show on Netflix. And I guess, if they get a big enough response, then they're going to include more seasons. So
because they're up to season 11 now.
Oh, wow.
I actually buy every episode right when it comes out.
Nice.
I think it's $2.99 an episode, but
worth it.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. It's 20 minutes. It's pretty short, but it's better than anything else on TV. I learn something every time. I watch one of those, and Ranella's so good at putting everything into words that it makes you appreciate.
Yeah.
Like he had one episode, one of the latest ones was about, he was hunting bear in this spot in Montana that he used to hunt in like a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
And he had one section there where he was talking about just the passage of time and like how going up to that spot, it reminds him of like going to his high school locker or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But nothing, like the time is kind of relative to how you perceive it.
Right.
And we think so much has changed in the last 10 years. And then you go back to a place like that and literally nothing has changed.
Same, yeah.
Except there's more wolves. So things do change, but like overall it kind of looks and feels the same.
Right.
And you might stumble across that's where he found that buffalo skull that was like however many 100 years old.
Wow.
So
it's pretty wild.
Yeah, he's kind of got that literature thing going on. So I like to watch his stuff. If they put more episodes on Netflix, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, it would be great. We mentioned before that, like, there's a few shows that we like, but that sort of being the main one as far as just a solid, realistic view of what hunting is and should be, or at least that's the way I see it anyways.
Yeah, and we mentioned Solo Hunter and Randy Newberg on previous ones.
Yeah, I haven't really watched any Randy's stuff except for was the Gutless Method one of his videos? Yeah.
He's I think all three of those shows and the people involved are kind of on the same level of it's about conservation and there's certain reasons why we hunt that people don't understand, and they're kind of pushing that new age TV show. It's not, I don't think it's a new age thought process. I just think it's a new age of TV shows that are actually showing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that some of those other shows aren't really all that realistic for a number of different reasons. So
kill shot, go to another kill shot, and everyone is a perfect kill shot. And we'll probably go over this in this episode, but that's not always the case.
No, and that's been shown on Meat Eater, and in some of those episodes, he goes home with nothing too, right? So that's more so what it's like, at least in our experience anyways. It's getting better though. Cool. What other do we have? We've got another couple of emails.
Yeah, I guess the other one that we wanted to touch on today was a guy named Jeremy, and he lives out kind of near us in Lake Country, it's called.
Okay.
Like north Kelowna, kind of near Vernon. And he's wondering, because he's new to hunting, where do you hunt? And how do you determine what's hunting land versus public land and city limits and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Private.
I wrote him back initially thinking that he was in the U.S.
Yeah, because that's a big problem they have, right? Is where can you even hunt? And we sent them the Go Hunt link.
Yeah, so initially, I didn't think we were really going to be able to provide too much information for him, but I think now knowing that he's in BC and right in our backyard here, you've got a ton of opportunities all around you.
Oh yeah,
and good on you for being cautious and making sure you're doing the right thing. But basically, correct me if there's anything else you want to add, Cal, but as long as you're outside of city limits and you're not on, like I say, a farmer's property, and you're in the right, unit and hunting the right thing, then you should be good to go. So typically, once you're out of city limits on a dirt road, I would mention which one he should check out. Maybe we'll follow up with an email on some roads and stuff that he can go and drive around down. But as long as you're not seeing any no hunting signs, you're pretty much good to go, man.
Yeah, because I don't know exactly where he is, but he could be in that area between Okanagan Lake and Kalamalka, right?
Right.
And most of that is private or city limits.
Right.
So I think you're going to have a hard time in there, like up near Sparkling Hill and all that.
Yeah,
it looks like amazing hunting
There's
territory.
a lot of deer
but
back there.
I don't think you're going to find much public land to hunt. And then on the east side of Kalamalka Lake or Wood Lake, I'm sure there's a lot of like farmland and stuff there. But at the same time, if you go into like there's region 810, 822, 821, all those regions, even heading out to Lumbee, Cherryville, I think if you're probably going to have to, and this is just part of hunting, is you have to get out of your area and you're going to have to put a lot of miles on your truck or car. If you're lucky, you'll find spots that are close, but I'd say in general, most hunters are putting miles on their vehicles every year.
Yeah. And, for us, that's just putting miles on just to get to a trailhead, not, just cruising around. So it's going to take some time for a new hunter to sort of find areas that, he wants to spend time in. So,
we found out one recently where you got your 4-point.
Exactly.
And that took 2.5 years, right?
Mm-hmm. And, we spent a lot of the spring and summer out on the quad. We were sort of out there with a purpose and hoping to find a black bear, but we were using that as our opportunity to scout. So yeah, you definitely got to put the miles on. And there's areas that we checked out too when we had the ATV that we haven't really gone back to, but we know we've got options as far as places we've seen animals, and we've sort of gone with the ones that are, closest to us so that we can, don't have to get up too early to get out there. So,
yeah. And I think part of the challenge in going further is that the further you go, the more equipment you need.
Yes, that's true.
Whether it's, just survival gear or a chainsaw in case you get stuck or whatever. Like if you're close to home, you can kind of get away with not buying too much stuff, but the further I go, the more I like to have like the chainsaw we have now and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. And I've already talked about this, but it was sort of an eye opener when you and I were in the park there and that huge storm rolled in, and the road that we came in on was a one way. So if a tree had fallen down or multiple trees. Oh, this is the first year we hunted. Yeah.
We would have been stuck in there.
Yeah.
So
that was our unsuccessful trip.
It was. We did a lot of hiking.
It was a hiking trip.
We burned a lot of calories. That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then the other thing that we always recommend is going on the forums and try and hook up with guys, because it's on just about every forum I've been on, there's always an opportunity. There's like hunters seeking hunters or whatever the fuck it says there, that guys can go in there and try and partner up with people, and that's a good way to do it, as long as you obviously got to be compatible with the person that you're going with. But just try and find somebody, and even going up to the range, which is actually in Lake Country there, you'll meet some people there too. So yeah, I know when we were getting into it, like I knew a bunch of people that hunt, like some of our friends and stuff, and you always think, I'm just going to join with them and I'm going to do this and that. Most of the time they'll take you out, or maybe they'll show you a spot that they were planning to look at some point. I find that they'll never really bring you to their spot, which I understand more now, having done this for a few years and having some success. Too. And I don't know. I think for most people, they do want to bring out new hunters, but at the same time, they already have their friends that they go out with, and if you bring more people, then it means splitting the meat more ways and all that kind of stuff, and giving up your spots, and it's a bit of a challenge. I've got 2 guys for sure that keep asking me to take them out, and I definitely want to take them out, but you and I sort of had goals for this season, and I wanted to get those things out of the way. And we've kind of done that, so maybe I'll go out with those guys and try and get a whitetail doe or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take them to our old spot because I feel like that's a good training ground, you know what I mean? And that's where we learned a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
The opportunities for success aren't as high as this new spot that we're going into. But you and I had to work really hard to find these spots, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
you know, if I bring these two guys in and then they bring two guys in and those people, you know what I mean? It's just like
It's
on and on and on. So our old spot is, it's a pretty obvious one, but it's a good one too, right? That's where we got our first.
It's probably where, actually, no, that's a different region. I was going to say that's where I'm going to get my mule deer tag, my doe limited entry.
It's right on the border.
But it's actually, that's a different region.
We'll get a doe
just
in our
barely.
new spot anyways.
Oh, yeah. The goal there is to get it as close to the road as possible.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm treating this as, like, let's just get it and be done, and then I'm going to call it for the year.
Yeah.
You can only eat so much meat anyways.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of torn. Like, when we're driving home, I'm like, I'm ready to take a break. And it's not so much wanting to go out and harvest an animal. It's just like, I want to be out there just doing it and seeing stuff and that. So it's more so
scouting.
Yeah. Essentially. And hiking and just getting up early and seeing cool stuff and the excitement of seeing a big buck and, you know, all those things. We've got lots of meat. On the other hand, I'm like, shit, this is probably going to go pretty fast too. You know what I mean? So, and then I'm also thinking about, well, what if we're not as successful next year? Well, I want to have a little bit of a reserve. You know what I mean? I don't want to get greedy or anything like that, but I'm like, okay, if we got another buck and a white-tailed doe or something like that, that would be plenty. And then I could sort of, I don't know if you agree or not, but
yeah, I mean, if you think about the whitetail doe,
that wasn't a whole lot of.
You get 3 bags, 350. Well,
so with that one, geez, with all the bones out, I think we've only got about 40 pounds of meat or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then you turn it. So because we have quite a few animals, we're trying different things with certain ones. So we were thinking with the whitetail, get some pepperoni made and all that kind of stuff. I'm interested to see how much it'll make because, like you say, we could technically go through a couple of those animals pretty quickly.
Well, I'm already looking at. So I with the elk, we put it into. They're anywhere from 12.5 to 15 pound bags of meat. So on either Sunday or Monday there, I ground up one of those bags into hamburger meat sort of thing and put them into freezer bags. And then I'm looking in the freezer, I'm like, that's not going to last that long. And then we've got 2 more bags each, right, to do whatever we want with. So one of those is going to end up being sausages.
Yeah, that's right. So, but we have one other bag that we're going to grind, right? So we have 2 bags we're going to grind, and then we each have 2 more bags.
Yeah,
each.
Exactly. Yeah, sorry, I'm talking like each sort of thing. So, yeah, I'm just kind of feeling like we had a lot of meat, but I'm also feeling like, damn, I want to have more because like our goal was to basically be self-sufficient for an entire year, right, or until the next season. So. Yeah. And my wife was kind of giving me shit. She's like, "You're not going out again and getting another deer." I'm like, I don't think like it's a lot of meat, but you know what I mean. And I'm really excited to be cooking. And I've already, I've done a roast and I used a couple pounds already to do a meatloaf. And there's no sign of really slowing down. I'm pretty excited to be cooking and trying different things, especially when if you want to do summer sausage or something like that. That's probably going to require a bit more meat to do those. And
I'm on the same page. Like I've just started thinking about that in the last couple of days. This isn't as much as we thought. But just to clarify, like we each have the 3 bags of elk meat.
Yeah.
But we also had separately a whole whack of backstrap and roast cuts that we took separate.
Yeah.
And then that's just a quarter of everything that was taken from that animal too.
Yeah,
so,
and then plus we gave some to Garrett's dad and all that kind of stuff.
So there was a ton of meat that came off that thing.
So Kelly and I aren't splitting an entire elk. Let's make that clear.
But as far as how much meat we have with everything included, and I think we talked about why we hunt, one of the aspects is the ability to give that product to people.
Yeah, for sure.
So like Randy, my father-in-law, has given me tons of sausage, whether it's moose, mule deer, whitetail, all this garlic ring, everything. So I'd like to give them some stuff.
Yeah.
I'd like to give my parents some stuff to try.
Mm-hmm.
Friends, even like people at work, like, yeah, I don't think it's going to go that far.
Well, that's kind of like one of the main reasons why I'm like, shit, because I do want to share it too, for that same reason, is like, I want to cook for people, or I want to be like, hey, try this pepperoni. This is our whitetail or whatever. Because I like that part of it. But at the same time, I'm almost kind of like hoarding it a little bit. Like, I can't give away all of this, man, because it's going to, pretty soon, it's all going to be gone, and I'm going to be wishing I still had some. So,
no, I think I agree that we should keep it going. And if it's better to have more, I ordered a grinder too, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think it's better to have more, and we can learn how to bring it down. Yeah. Because really it depends on the success you have. And I'd rather have more success and then deal with the meat than no success and not have any meat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like I say, who knows what's going to happen next year, right? So yeah, kind of a mental struggle on what to do without sort of being...
Either this is just a really good year for us, or we're just getting better at this and maybe we'll continue to do this. But
I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. Like the elk, I think, is an absolute fluke.
That was I do think we were in the right place. Yeah. Because we learned a lot, and we were in the right elevation, the right place, the right time.
As soon as we got into that area, we were excited. You know what I mean? And just like, okay, now.
But for mule deer.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Maybe that was just a mistake on our part, that we should have thought, there's probably elk in here.
Yeah, I think it's always in the back of your mind, but it's almost like seeing a ghost. It's just so rare to see a bull elk. Like,
never even seen one in real life before.
There you go. I've only seen a couple. So
actually, I saw the cows.
Yeah, but a bull elk of that size, man? No. I've seen, you know what? That's probably the third one I've seen in my life. So crazy. But I don't know, man. I think we should consider what we're going to do and make a plan.
We don't have to go out every weekend.
No, and I'm not. Like, it was almost getting out of control at the beginning of the season. I was so excited, and I was going out a couple times a week and, ignoring some of the things I should have been paying attention to as far as business and life and everything like that. Yeah.
But it paid off too.
It paid off, yeah. And I think it feels nice to bring meat home to your family and that. And I think the wives appreciate it and they're happy with it too. So it's hard to justify it.
Bree just made a pulled elk sandwich.
Oh, nice.
I still roasted a bunch of it last night, so we had that on rice.
Sweet.
And then she said she already ate a pulled elk sandwich. So
nice.
I'm looking forward to that tonight.
Yeah. So
we'll make one.
So here I'll be honest and say that the first roast that I cooked, I used a recipe that my wife has done short ribs with like 100 times, and it's been flawless. And like each time it's like the meat's just falling off the bone, right? So okay, cool. I'm gonna try this, same temperature, I was gonna factor in less time, and basically kind of cook it slowly for 3 hours. And sometimes she's even gone longer with the short ribs, and they're always absolutely amazing. So do the same thing with the elk roast. Check it at 45 minutes. Fucking overcooked like crazy. Like could have broke a window with it, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think it was like you had to go even longer to break down that, like, with slow cooking, it'll reach the cook temperature and within like a half hour?
It could have been. And then I was just fucking stressed out about it. So I pulled it out because I was just reading. It's like, if you go beyond, I think it's between 130 to 140 degrees or something like that. And beyond that, you just pull all the moisture out of it. So you might be right, actually, where if I had left it, it
could have broke down all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because with the slow cooker, that's the first thing my first experience with my slow cooker, it wasn't with elk, it was with a roast beef. I put it in there And I was all like, with most of my cooking on the barbecue or whatever, I just use a digital thermometer.
Yeah.
Because why not? It's so easy.
Yeah.
And I just know right away everything's perfect.
That's
So
what I was using too. Yeah.
Yeah, I put it in there, slow cooking it. As soon as it hit 160, I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's already at one. How can I put this in here for 7 hours?
Yeah.
And then I took it out. It was hard. It was all this stuff. And then my mom kind of slow cooks a bunch of stuff. So I was talking to her about it. Second time, I just put it in. I didn't touch it. I left it in there for 7 hours at low. And it eventually just breaks it down so much that it just falls apart.
Maybe I just screwed up then.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, because so I was just thinking, like, damn it, I knew this meat is lean. There's not really any fat in there.
Yeah.
And I just figured out, okay, blew it. So, like, now what can I do? So I just took it out. I put it in the fridge and then was just doing a bit of reading on what to do with overcooked lean meats. And one of the things I came across was to just cut it up into smaller, basically just like 1-inch strips kind of thing, and then marinate it for, anywhere from a couple hours to leave it overnight. So I did that, and I just kind of tossed in some soy sauce and some red wine, and I don't know, it was just something basic, and left it overnight, and then fried it up the next day with some onions and some green peppers and some mushrooms, and made like a Philly cheesesteak with it. Man, it was amazing. I think I sent you a photo of it.
Yeah.
It was so good. It sounded like...
I was like, why are you sending me pictures of this cooking magazine?
Yeah, no. I made that one. So that was really good. And then I had some of that left over and actually made like a breakfast bagel with it too. It was phenomenal.
Sweet.
So salvage that. So if anyone ever, overcooks a lean meat like that, be it venison or elk or whatever, there are ways to salvage it. So there was no way, even if it was like chewing on a brick, I was going to eat that thing no matter what.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I think maybe you're right, Kel. I probably should have just left it, but I just panicked. And
was it in a liquid when you were cooking?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, probably. Rich Outdoors had Tiffany Haugen, I believe her name is, on their podcast. And it's kind of a good episode because she has a bunch of wild game cookbooks. And one of her tips was to put coconut milk in the slow cooker or in the braise or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Because that's almost like, I think it would almost be like marinating in buttermilk before you cook your meats.
Right.
But it adds like a fat to the meat as you're cooking it, which we all know venison is, I think elk falls into that category, but it's pretty low fat.
Definitely.
So, you couldn't even, she said you can strain it off after, and then you could do a gravy with something else, but I just left it all in, and you could slightly tell that it was a coconut milk, but hardly at all. Like if I didn't mention it, you probably wouldn't notice. There
was a guy on Hunt Backcountry podcast. I really like that podcast, by the way, if anyone wants to check that out. Got lots of good stuff on there and good guys. Anyways, they had I don't remember which episode was or what the guy's name was, but he was talking about the same thing. He said that's one of his favorite things to do with, I think it might have been backstraps he likes to do it with, was like a coconut curry, the same way you're talking about. So
I was going to dump some curry in there too, and then I thought, I kind of just want to
taste the meat.
Taste it.
Yeah.
But I find with slow cooking, everything tastes like roast beef after you're done.
It's true.
So I could bring that into work and everybody would say, oh, this is awesome roast beef.
Yeah.
A little bit on the dry. It is a little drier, obviously, than a roast beef. It's hard to counteract that fact that there's really no fat in it. But,
for sure.
Still good. And then I shred it all up and then I put it back into the slow cooker. So, and then I put it back on warm and I'll leave it there for like another 45 minutes or something. And then it kind of soaks all the juices in.
Nice.
Pretty good.
Very good. So I ground up that full, I think it ended up being, once I added the fat into it, fat back, which I got from just a meat processing place here in Kelowna. It was a 5 kilogram box. It was only $20 or something like that. And the ratio we're using is it's just 10% fat back to 90% lean meat. Basically, you can use that for venison and everything. So
yeah, so that's for our general
Yeah, so you can use that for burgers, for meatballs, for lasagna, for meat, whatever you want to do. So I had that all ground up and decided to do a meatloaf, and we had that last night.
Mm-hmm.
So good, man. Like,
oh, you did a meatloaf with that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Used 2 pounds for that.
Sweet.
Very good, man. So the next thing I want to do, I think I just want to do a simple burger just so I can just taste the meat. You know what I mean?
We should probably do that as a like barbecue. We should make elk burgers.
Yeah.
Like just for we just have the 4 of us there. It goes back to that hoarding thing.
Yeah, totally, man. It's just so good.
It's like, what do you mean barbecue? How many people are you thinking? Oh, well, just us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if we split an elk each, we could invite the whole neighborhood. But
oh, yeah. Okay, so say we're going out and we're looking for your doe or the buck or whatever you're going to get, and a 6x6 elk walks out in front of us.
Oh, I'd grab that for sure.
Me too.
But I don't know. Maybe when do you want to get into the recap of the...
Okay, so should we get into that now?
Yeah.
I think we've sort of covered everything as far as grinding and cooking and everything like that. So we're going to talk a bit more. Future episodes, we'll talk about some of the stuff we're cooking, and follow us on Instagram, and we'll post photos, and maybe even we can post the recipe on there too if anyone's interested. So feel free to ask us questions and all that kind of stuff on there. Okay, so let's do a recap. Where do you want to start?
Well, I think people who are listening to this would probably have heard the last episode.
If you haven't, hit pause and go back to episode 19.
Yeah, so that was recorded in the wall tent after the event and packing everything back down. We had the meat sitting in the truck 10 feet away from the tent. I don't think anyone slept that whole night.
No.
Because we were waiting for the sound of a bear. And Garrett was worried that we were all going to fire holes through his truck. But I think we listened to that again too. So there's an aspect of shock in that recording. But I think our goal with all this is an honest portrayal and recording basically of what we're thinking at the time and what we have gone through and all that stuff. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. It's just, this is what happened. I think there's a lot of value in that.
For sure.
But I don't know. We did get a comment on the forums there. The one guy said it was a little hard to listen to just because of how the events unfolded. Yeah. And I think
he said it was hard to listen to, sort of,
because it worked out.
Yeah, and so there was a bit of an element of almost missing this crazy opportunity and all that kind of stuff, right? And that was a long shot. That was well over 300 yards too. You know what I mean? So
yeah. And there's some elk fever going on with, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, Garrett was anybody in that situation would be shitting their pants. It's one thing, we see deer almost daily, so it's it's exciting when you see a buck and everything, but when you see an elk like that, oh my God! And
it's the reason they don't call it doe fever though, because
that's true.
The day before I got a doe, and I had none of that. It was kind of
no, you had cranked that thing.
It was just we're in the truck again, and
okay, do you want to talk about that day, or do you want to go back to the beginning? And some of the things I want to talk about is I think some people know that you and I aren't necessarily road hunters, and none of us in the group were. Yeah. So there's some factors that sort of contributed to that. Mm-hmm. Number one thing would be the weather, right? So we got there, and the day that we were heading there was raining like crazy. As we got into the Kootenays, you start to see these mountains that are in the Alpine, and it's snowing up there like crazy. So had we been there a week earlier, there might have still been a bit of snow up there. Probably not much, but it would have been manageable, basically, right? So all 4 of us, our goal, I think, was to be sort of up in the higher Alpine to do a lot of hiking and see some sights and stuff like that. But, we quickly realized that, after that first day, we're like, well, we can't even really hunt in the Alpine. There's no animals.
And the
up there.
benefit of that area is we could drive quite a high level just due to the roads and the regulations in those regions.
Yeah.
So you could drive up to, say, 6,000 feet, and then you could hike up to the 7,500, 8,000 mark, and then you could go down a bunch of different ridges, and you could take it off from there.
Yeah.
But that kind of got restricted for us because it was blizzard conditions up above 6,000, 5,000 feet, right?
It was crazy up there. Actually, Kelly, you should post the that video.
Yeah, I'll do that.
It was just nuts up there, and the visibility was pretty poor.
Mm-hmm. We were thinking, there's no reason I want to be here, so why would the animals be here?
Yeah, no, I'm just looking around when we were up there, and I was having a lot of fun, so I wasn't in a hurry to leave. It was just cool to be the contrast from, the week before when we got the buck. It was 20 degrees here in Kelowna, t-shirt weather, beautiful, to being on top of a mountain peak like that. And I don't know what the temperature would have been up there, but it's a foot of snow. It's blizzard conditions. It was crazy. Below
zero, that's
and
for sure.
All of us were really warm and comfortable. So it's like, we're up here. Let's just kind of make the most of it. You never know. There could have been mountain goats up there cruising around, but I don't know why
they can stay there.
Yeah.
They deserve it.
Totally. They can have that mountain.
Yeah.
So that was one of the main factors that sort of changed the whole trajectory of our trip, more or less, because number one, the animals are being pushed down. Number two, to go up in the vehicle, as we figured out, becomes a risky situation.
Yeah, you could come back to the vehicle and be in a foot of snow.
Oh yeah, easy.
And the roads aren't necessarily friendly.
Yeah.
They're straight down off the one side, right? So you don't want to be in a position where you're sliding.
No.
The timber is so thick that we compared it to the coastal, it's old growth with moss and all that stuff, right? So it looked like you're on Vancouver Island pretty much.
And the fog was crazy, and because once you kind of get just below that Alpine, you're not really above all that stuff either.
Yeah.
So, that combined with thick old growth forest, good luck, man.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess basically that pushed us more. It constricted what our plan originally was.
Yeah.
And then, but at the same time, I think it reduced the amount of areas the animals could be.
It's true.
Which kind of resulted in us getting a couple animals.
I think so too, yeah.
So
the other thing I wanted to mention too, that is, out of the four of us, none of us had been in that area. That was the first for all of us. So it was also, we're out there scouting at the same time, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up being I'd call that a successful scouting trip, really.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I mean? Had we not gotten any animals, I still would have left that trip thinking, okay, now we know exactly where to go, because we started to find out, the northern part of that area. I wouldn't spend any time up there, but south of where we were camped out.
So amazing, though.
Amazing. Deer everywhere. And we found where we ended up getting the elk was just the best mule deer territory you could ask for.
Yeah.
Tracks everywhere. The first few days we weren't seeing anything as far as sign, and I was getting a little bit discouraged from that. So, so for all these reasons, we ended up spending a lot more time in the trucks, which is kind of unfortunate. I can't sit that long. You know how I am as far as that stuff goes, and you were getting nauseous just from...
I was driving. I was getting nauseous.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, you spend all day, you get up in the dark, you go home in the dark, and you're driving the whole time, and you're on windy roads, and just the stress of taking your vehicle on some of those roads is not easy too, right? I don't know.
So yeah,
I mean, then there's so much rain that in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking slides. There's a history of slides in that area. Yeah. And you don't want to be on one of those roads when a slide happens, but at the same time, there's a lot of heavy machinery that's constantly on those roads. So I wasn't worried about it too much. Yeah. But I don't know. There's some stressful factors when you're in those areas.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when I don't like being the driver in those situations, and I wasn't the one driving, you were, and so was Garrett. So I know how it feels to sort of be everyone else is anxious to
and you don't
go to that, and it's sort of you're all right, man, just go for it. But you know what I mean? uncomfortable. And then, at a certain point, like you can't always just turn around on these roads, right? You get to a certain point where you hit snow and then you got to back down, which is,
and we
worse.
actually hit snow, but it was not sticking. But then at one point we hit a thin layer of ice that had stuck for multiple days. So when brutal. I hit that, then I said, okay, this is my limit. So I'm going to back up. And we had to back up quite a ways. And at one point I started sliding backwards. Yeah. So you're just, I hate that whole situation. I'm just not looking forward to sliding off of a road into a tree and then we're stuck at 6,000 feet.
Yeah, we were way up there.
So we got out of that. Goodyear Duratrack tires. We both, Garrett and I, have those. Yeah. So highly recommended.
Yeah, and like it didn't slide that long, but no,
it was just a 2 foot, like a little, like
so it just kind of
woke me up.
Being
time.
On a steeper grade or something like that with a big drop off the other side, then see you later.
Yeah,
that's all it takes.
In the back, I'm always thinking, okay, what's my escape plan like? But when you're driving, it's I always like coming down on the opposite side, so you're facing the upslope.
Open the door and just roll out.
Yeah, tuck and roll.
So, anyways, those are kind of all the things that we were dealing with, and it's funny, man, because I sort of spent the whole spring and summer almost training, like physically for this. You know what I mean? Going out with my pack all the time, and even doing the Wanda-Fuka Trail and running and all that kind of stuff was leading up to this trip where I thought we were going to be in the Alpine every single day. And like, I think I probably gained weight on this trip because we ate really well, but we didn't really burn those calories every day either.
Although, like there's 4 of us. So whoever drove, we kind of pair off and somebody would go into a cut and then they would hike up and then we'd meet up again. Yep. So there was always 2 people that were kind of getting dropped off. And I think we were all getting stir crazy. So whenever we got a chance to sort of get out and walk around a little bit, we could. But so anyways, man, I think those were all the factors that we were dealing with, but at the same time they also work to our advantage because I'm sure they pushed that elk down to where it was. The white-tailed deer were just crawling through the valley like they were all over the place. We saw those 2 whitetail bucks. We had a chance at them, but Garrett missed that one. Way to go, Garrett. No. And we were seeing does everywhere, and you know what I mean? It's like the trip turned from sort of me being like, oh no, this is not really much going on, to seeing stuff all over the place. And so it's kind of that series of events that, maybe initially you thought we're going to be working as a disadvantage to you, but actually worked to our advantage. And I think Garrett was really trying to get a mountain goat.
Yeah. I was really sort of geared towards that until we did the first day when we went up into the Alpine.
Yeah. It was just too much. Yeah. And then I was and we saw that guy at the gas station who gave us some tips.
Do you remember his name?
I thought it was Nate or Nick or something like that. But he kind of helped us reiterate that, there's a band of an area that makes sense for where the animals would be. And that made me happy, thinking that, okay, this makes sense. Like there's a logic behind this. I think there's going to be animals there.
I totally agreed with what he had to say. So I was glad that we ran into him. And I think all of us were probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
We wanted to think that the animals were up higher because that's kind of all what we had planned.
We all wanted to go up there.
We all wanted to hike. And there's all these amazing hiking trails and stuff like that. But it just didn't make sense. So that guy, he was... I think he said he was doing chainsaw work. He obviously works in the forestry industry, so he'd been out on these roads and knew exactly where all the animals were. So thanks to him for that was just kind of a lucky.
Although we did drive where he suggested, which was a couple areas, but where we got to Salk was actually not in either one of those areas. So interesting.
Yeah.
But it all kind of worked out. Everything, it's the sum of the parts, I guess.
For sure.
The other aspect of it was just the shots. Like we were in a different area, right? So we kind of explained that on the last episode.
Yeah.
That we were in a lower cut. We were onto mule deer, and
finally
we heard
doing some
shots.
hiking. Yeah.
Yeah. So we heard numerous shots from an area. Their radio died. We thought they'd been like attacked by a bear or something. It turned out that it was actually the best case scenario, which we found out an hour and a half later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just a note that not everything works out the way you pictured in your head. It's not always a one shot and the animal drops. 300 yards and up is quite a long shot.
Mm-hmm.
And listening to that previous episode, a lot of folks are probably thinking, oh, why did it take so many shots? Or why do you have to chase it and all that kind of stuff? I think there's two things, not to take anything away from how like Garrett handled it, because I think that the way he handled it resulted in us getting that elk.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's the right call and sometimes it's not the right call. And I think he made the right call
100%.
in being aggressive.
Yeah, for sure.
But at the same time, everyone has this idea that it should take one or two shots and then you wait an hour and then you go after it. And that's kind of not what happened here. Like with this one, it took more than a couple shots. And it's possible that those shots were vital shots.
You know what? I think reflecting back on it, the first couple might not have been, but I'm pretty sure that third shot that he took was. And the more I've sort of read about elk hunting since then and since talking to my uncle there, is that these are extremely strong animals, man.
Yeah,
and
you don't think about that piece, right? Like, they're just tough.
They're tough. And he was talking about a hunt where the guy, I think, blew the elk's leg pretty much clean off, the front leg or whatever, because he was shooting for the vitals and hit it in the leg. And this thing just kept going, man. You know what I mean? And it's just unbelievable how strong these animals are. So for Garrett to continue, and that was the right move, you know what I mean? Because it's possible that thing might have continued on and he wouldn't have found it or something like that. So I think when you're dealing with bigger animals like that, that's what you need to do, you know what I mean, is to be aggressive and make sure you don't lose a wounded animal.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch on that, because I think that when you listen to that back, you kind of get that. We knew the outcome, but for people that didn't, maybe it was getting a little bit like, uneasy in terms of like, oh, well, are they going to lose this wounded animal?
Yeah.
But I think that's all why we're doing this podcast, is to kind of show all sides of hunting, and that sometimes that happens. That's the way it goes.
Even like I've heard Ranella say it multiple times, and it's, it's every hunter's worst nightmare to wound an animal. But it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It happens to everybody. It happens to the most, successful guys. It just happens sometimes. There could be multiple reasons the animal might, just as you take the shot, it moves and you graze it or something like that and injure it and can't find it or whatever. So,
and it could be as simple as like when you're on the range taking 300-yard shots and you realize that your heartbeat is affecting that impact point by a couple inches. Like it's, and in the field, you're leaning on a stump, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's, it's it's easy to say, this is how I'm going to do it. This is how it's going to work out. And then when you're in that situation, it's pretty fast how things change.
Yeah. And I think the entire trip is a great example of, I think everything is always going to be the opposite of what you envision it to be. You know what I mean? You do all the preparations and everything like that, and and you think it's going to be a certain way. And it comes to the same thing too, is when you're set up somewhere, the area that you think the animal is going to come from, it's usually coming from the opposite direction. It's going to be right behind you. You know what I mean? So it's like, it seems like everything you do in hunting, I feel like it's always the complete opposite of what you expect the outcome to be. You know what I mean?
Or it's never the way at least it's never the exact way you envisioned it.
Exactly.
For sure.
So yeah, all those things that could have been looked at as not negative, but sort of things that could have taken away from the hunt eventually ended up being the things that made them successful in the end, right? So yeah. I guess the other thing I wanted to touch on, are you good with everything there?
Yep.
Is there anything that you brought that you might not bring next time, or things you wish that you had for this trip?
I think because we stayed in a wall tent with a stove, it was amazing that we could wash our clothes in a lake or in water or whatever, and then we could hang those clothes up. By the time you went to bed, they were pretty much dry, because that stove just dried the crap out of everything. It was so hot in there.
It was roasted. So
that was good. I was happy in the amount of clothes I brought. I think you can go minimal in that case, even if you you can wash it all. So bring a couple days, wash the one day, wear the other day, switch it back and forth, whatever.
I didn't even do any washing. I was just swapping out underwear basically, and I was feeling pretty. Underwear and socks are the sort of the main things, and I brought. I've been watching for them at Costco again. Those merino wool shirts that we have, that base layer. So I brought 2 of those, and I kind of was swapping them out too, which is nice. Actually, I saved it for sort of the later half of the trip. It's nice to put some clean clothes on. So
yeah.
And then I had brought clothes that I wore the day that we traveled there, and then that we wore when I traveled out too. So I kind of had.
See, I didn't have that. I only brought.
You were ready to rock as soon as we left.
Yeah, I had 2 pairs of hunting pants, and then quite a bit of hunting gear.
Yeah.
Well, at least 2 changes.
Yeah,
probably. And then just your underwear and socks. But I should have brought another pair of pants just for the way out.
Yeah.
Maybe some jeans or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely bring that. Like we mentioned on the last episode, gaiters are huge.
Yeah.
Pumped about
I
those.
gotta get some.
And I know like First Light and Sitka and Kuyu and all these guys have gaiters, and I'm sure they're nice and they're great, but they're also expensive. Like the Sitka ones are like $200. Wow. I bought the Outdoor Research ones that are Gore-Tex, and they were like $89, $80.
Nice. The ones that I was using were Garrett's, and those were LL Bean's ones.
Oh yeah,
those were awesome. They're not camo; they were black and red. But I was loving wearing those. Man, they just make you feel indestructible out there, and they keep you dry. And
it's huge, especially in the snow.
Yeah,
I just think if you're going to spend $40-$50 on gaiters, put in the extra 30 and get the Gore-Tex ones just to be safe.
Well, it kind of defeats the purpose, I think, if you're not, right? So it's meant to keep you dry.
Yeah. What else? I don't know if we should talk about just kudos to Garrett and all his gear. I mean, that he's got some nice gear.
Incredible, yeah. And a lot of this, I think a good chunk of that stuff was Ovi's too. So
yeah, we had a lot of stuff there. It's always nice to have somebody that like has over and above what you think you need, right? And like, I know I've gone out a couple times now, and I'm like, should I even bring this shovel? And then every time I get there, I'm like, damn it, I should have bought that shovel. So even this case, we were digging trenches for rain, like all that stuff, and something as small as a shovel could save your tent. Mm-hmm. But he also had like generators and stoves and cooking stuff and
plates and cups,
kitchen setups,
pots and pans, and man, there was everything.
Just like pails, like 5 5-gallon pails or whatever they are, just to bring water up. And he's definitely considered all the aspects. It's
one of the things I thought was really cool is like so my uncle Ovi is from kind of the old school hunting, right? And we're sort of the new age hunters. So to like pick up all the things that he's learned over the years, just basically from trial and error.
Yeah.
They didn't have all the resources we have.
Yeah, you can Google like what's the best way to organize a wall tent.
Yeah.
Or fold it.
But the things
like you can
So Garrett, growing up with his dad and all their hunting party that would go out in these wall tents all the times, he's sort of been able to pick up all these tips and tricks and everything that those guys have figured out through trial and error, you know what I mean? So, which makes for a camp that functions really well and all that kind of stuff. And then on the flip side of that is like, it's kind of cool that we're able to bring in some new techniques. And like, Ovi was looking at the gutless method in the photos and he thought that was cool. I guess they've never really tried that one out, and Garrett had never seen that either. And so it's neat that like, the old school hunters have something to offer to us, and we also have something to offer to them. Less so, but still, it's neat. You know what I mean? And it's pretty cool how much information is available to us now. And for someone who doesn't have a mentor, you can find all these things, but it's cool to have these guys that have been doing it for 40 years that can give us all kinds of tips and stuff like that. So.
And if you're setting something up like a wall tent, it's nice to have somebody that's kind of directing traffic, which Garrett was doing.
Totally, yeah. I have no idea.
It's his tent and he knows how to do it. So that was good. He's kind of going around saying, I'm not trying to bark at anybody, but this is what you got to do.
That's exactly what you need is somebody to be like, okay, you need to do this. Somebody's got to do this. Because otherwise I'm just looking at all these, bags of poles and canvas, and I'm like, what the hell did we do with this stuff? You know what I mean? So but it was
he's just
cool,
a modest guy though. He also thinks he's not, like, I get the feeling he doesn't think he's a guitar player, but he's actually amazing.
He's the same way with hunting. So it's funny.
Next time we're gonna have to bring 2 guitarists. I
know, that's weird. We got to go to a pawn shop and.
Oh man! So Garrett, if you're listening to this, pawn shop guitar before the next hunting trip.
I'll get a pawn shop acoustic bass. You guys gonna have guitars? Kevin, maybe you could pick up some harmonicas or something and a tambourine.
Triangle.
And the addition to some jams and some wine at the end of the night would be pretty rad.
Oh yeah, that would have made the trip, like that would have put the cherry on the top for sure.
So all in all, man, that trip was absolutely amazing. I loved it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And it
memories.
Yeah, for sure. It had its not ups and downs, but just those mental struggles of like, when you're not seeing animals, man, it just fucks with your head big time. Me anyway, like, I think everybody was maybe feeling the same way, but we're also just there to have a good time too. So it was only those first couple of days where like, where are all the animals, man? And then that quickly changed, right? So.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that we should mention, you might not be expecting to get a 7x7 elk, but if it happens, you probably wish that you created a meat pole ahead of time.
Yeah, true.
Right? So I think as part of the camp setup, it'd be nice to set up a meat pole, scale out the location. We kind of had a plan, but it didn't really work out, as you can hear.
Well, the thing, like we were completely exhausted at the end of that. And of course, so we get back after packing in this elk, we're carrying 100-pound pack loads, multiple trips, getting back late. And then you still have to deal with the meat. You still have to cook dinner. You got to get changed and dry out your clothes and all these things you have to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then on top of that, to, build a better meat pole, forget it. But I think
look how long it took Garrett and I to put that one.
Just the dough up there. Yeah.
Dough up on the tree.
Yeah. So I think what we need to do is maybe bring some stuff with us where we can construct something laying down on the ground and then lean it up. You know what I mean?
Right. So
I've got some ideas.
You know what else I was thinking?
Because rather than trying to get up high, if you build something that's laying down on the ground and then stand it up, you're good to go.
We could also use tree stand equipment to hike up. Like if you find 2 trees that are kind of close together, like 8 feet or whatever, maybe even less, but you can use those whatever ladder screw type things to get yourself up there a little ways, screw on one side, go up the other side. It's still a lot of work, but at least you're only focusing on one piece of wood instead of creating a whole frame.
For sure.
But I don't have a tree stand.
Neither do I. Actually, my old man had one. I think my brother's got that.
Because it'd be nice to have the strap too, the safety strap. Yeah,
you had a pretty sweet little rig where you sort of just shimmy up. You pull the one part up and then you just, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah.
Like a PLT or something.
Yeah, sure.
A power line guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty cool. Well, yeah, you kind of have a platform that you stand on, and there's a thing that you hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
You bring that up, and then you sort of hoist yourself up, and then you raise the bottom part, and then eventually you're way up in a tree. I never used it, but it's cool.
Sweet.
Yeah. What else did I want to mention on the trip? I think that was it, man. I brought these two Rubbermaid bins, which I really liked having. So when I got back, all my sort of camp clothes were folded and set out in there. I would switch into those, fold up my hunting clothes, throw them in the bin, and it was easy to transfer. And then I had all my other one where I could just sort of throw any equipment or anything that was staying in the camp, as far as like extra flashlights or whatever it might be. And Kel spilling beer all over himself. And then, like the day that we had to dry out our packs because we got soaked, I just emptied out all my equipment into that one bin, hung up the pack, let everything dry out. It was great. It kept me organized and all that stuff. So they're just the smaller Rubbermaid bins. Yep. I liked having that. And I didn't bring very much. Basically, stuffed my pack. It's a 75-liter pack, so there's a lot of stuff I could put in there. And then had a bigger bin for your and I food, basically. Sleeping bags. I don't think there's any good way to pack sleeping bags.
No. I mean, you could get compression sacks for them, but...
Yeah, even like the sacks that I have are compression sacks, but I brought 2 sleeping bags just because I was concerned about the temperature, so I was trying to like stuff those into my my dry bag, and I couldn't get them in there. It's just annoying me, so like, forget it. And then I brought my just my thermarests. I brought 2 of them that I could stack and put on the cot, but even without those, I still would have slept fine on those cots. So that's pretty much it.
I'm calling out the bottom bunk next time.
Nice.
It was fine, but I found it was like even a foot or 2 difference in that tent is like a 10-degree difference.
Oh man, I was roasting up top.
Yeah.
So Kelly and I were on the bunk beds. And some of those nights, man, I thought we were going to die in there.
Yeah, the first night I was claustrophobic. I was like, oh my God.
So was I.
We need to get a like carbon monoxide detector in here or
That's
something.
exactly like, man, we're just not going to wake up.
Gonna asphyxiate in here.
Yeah. And I was so hot that I couldn't even get up to like crack the door. Oh, it's brutal. Well, not brutal. It was a luxury to be hot. And then of course it cools down, but yeah.
I brought a bunch of like meals that were in bags, like the veggie Ziploc bags with the perforated holes in them. And then I brought the
outcome.
Well, basically it's...
That's why we were successful, because you were drinking outcome every morning.
Well, what it is it's ground up oatmeal with protein shake and chia seeds and hemp seeds. And what else is in there? Powdered peanut butter. And you put that all up. I was vacuum sealed it. This is coming from a website. I can't remember what it's called. I think it was from Go Hunt. I'm not sure.
Yeah, nice.
Anyways, vacuum seal all these into whatever. I brought 7 of them. And then you just dump it into your Nalgene bottle or whatever. Add some water, and it's like instant oatmeal in the morning. But like you can get 500, 600 calories.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, which is awesome, but it's not exactly easy to drink.
No.
Like I found it a little bit tough. If that was all I had, then for sure I'd be drinking all of it. I found I only drank half of it most days. It's pretty filling though.
Yeah, for sure.
I was never hungry. So I guess for this trip, I brought a lot more. Like I didn't really eat a lot of the stuff that were in those bags. I found I didn't eat as much as I thought I was.
Yeah, I had brought, my plan was to make oatmeal in the morning. So I sort of prepared, same idea, in Ziploc bags. It was my breakfast, and I was going to throw that in water and boil it up every morning. But I just found that we were also anxious to kind of hit the road, that I didn't get a chance to eat any of those. But when we were on the trail, on the Juan de Fuca trail, Ashley and I would get up and make a point of making breakfast, where this was a little bit different because we're getting up a lot earlier, right, than what we were on the trail and that. So so I didn't get to eat any of those, but I made all these granola bars and stuff like that. So I would, in the truck, I would throw back like one of those granola bars and drink a cup of coffee, and it was good to go. But it had dried apples and lots of stuff. So
pepperoni and sandwiches.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we ate all those.
Well, we finished off the buns, but we left the meat in trail in the bag.
Pepperoni too?
No, actually, I think I got 2 sticks for you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I ate my final 2 and I saved those ones for you.
Nice.
They're dry, so they're just hanging there. So
yeah. Mission Meats is close to me, so I could always pick some up.
I'll bring those down for you. And I got to give you some of that ground meat too.
Yeah, I'm stoked to try that. Is that up at your place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I meant to bring it, but yeah, I totally forgot. So
yeah.
So yeah. I don't know if there was anything else I wanted to add to the whole trip.
No, I'm just looking forward to the next one, really.
Yeah, me too. And
so, like I said, I kind of think that we should try the early mid-September, but I guess it'll depend on everybody's schedules and.
Yeah, and the thing is like as we mentioned, there's so many beautiful hiking trails. I want to go back there with my wife in the summertime and do some camping there.
Scouting?
Well, yeah. Don't tell her that. So, if her and I can go in the summertime, and even if Garrett or you can go with Bree or something like that and do a camping trip too. If we're all kind of going and checking out that area at different times throughout the summer, at least we can make a note of like, okay, we did see mountain goats. This is where they were, and we can go for those. And I think if it's September, the likelihood of seeing mountain goats is going to be more likely. Mm-hmm. And there's other regions too in the park area there. I won't say the name of it, but you can apply for limited entry in there too for goats.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So knowing that area now, we can apply for some of these things if we want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think it's just a matter of doing a bit more scouting and that earlier in the season. But
the problem I have with mountain goat is that it's not a huge animal to split between 4 people. And
True.
It's a lot of work to get one.
The other thing is too, man, is I want to continue to apply for moose in the caribou.
Yeah, moose.
So
actually, guy at work, him and the folks in his family who are kind of spread out across BC, but I think they got 3 limited entries this year.
Jeez.
So anyways, they've got 2 of them. One of them's still outstanding. But told him like, wow, you're pretty lucky, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, he was showing me pictures and it's pretty sweet. If we can get one of those, we need the ATVs though. We don't have ATVs. It's kind of the family members that own them, but
yeah, we can get our hands on them, I think, if we need to. Yeah, because if we're in the caribou, like I know that region fairly well, and I know where I've seen moose in previous years and that, they're up there. So if we can get a limited entry,
there's more up there than there are down here, I think.
So I think this beer's making me hiccup. What's on tap now, Cal?
Postmark Stout.
We've switched. So yeah, if we're successful in getting a moose draw, I think that might change our hunting trip. Mm-hmm. But if we don't get one, I think we'll just go to the same spot we were this year.
Yeah, which is interesting because the first 2 or 3 days, I was almost thinking of another area we could go next year.
Yeah.
As nice as it was there and the scenery and all that kind of stuff, I was thinking like, okay, we haven't seen any sign.
Yeah.
Like
0.
We have seen 0 sign. So I don't know if this is the place. And then everything changed.
Everything changed big time.
Which is fine. So I'd like to go back there.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens. It all depends, I guess. It depends on people, their schedules, and our LEHs. And
I think this
everything.
needs to be an annual thing, though. And that was the whole
that's awesome.
point is like, Garrett and I had talked, and it really ties into like my dad passing away and all that stuff. And that's where the conversation kind of sparked, was like these traditions are important in life. You know what I mean? To find a good group of guys and say that every year this is what we do. You know what I mean? And do that. I think it's important to do those things, because it's easy to not do them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It takes a lot of planning, but if that's, you know, if everybody knows, all our family knows that this is what the guys do at this time of year, every single year, then that's sort of just the way it is. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, man, it's a good thing to do.
For sure.
And as far as like the way that our group functioned, couldn't be any better.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you hear stories of guys who bring a new person to the group and it just doesn't work, or you know what I mean? Sometimes there's somebody who doesn't pull their weight. Everyone was awesome. So we got a good thing going. I think we should continue it.
And it's cool because nobody really feels like they're out of the loop. It's more just everyone knows that we're kind of rookies. Like Garrett's been doing this a long time, but he's always had his dad, he said.
Yeah.
So he is kind of a rookie in doing it himself. Like that was the first elk he got. I think it was one of the first times he's really gone out and set up all this stuff with a hunting party on his own and all that. So like he's familiar with a lot of it, but at the same time he's learning, we're learning, Kevin's learning. It's nice when you have everybody that's kind of working together to the end goal. It's nice to have somebody there that just knows everything inside and out, like maybe Ovi or my father-in-law or like whatever, right? But at the same time, it's nice to all be learning it together.
Yeah.
Takes the pressure off too.
For sure.
So.
Yeah. Can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun too.
Like blast.
Kevin, he documented a lot of it with videos and pictures.
I sort of regret I didn't take any videos, and I sort of regret that, because the stuff that Kevin got, like the last night, you know, I think it was after we recorded the podcast there, we were looking through some of the videos and I was crying. I was laughing so hard, man. You don't realize you sort of turn into a bit of a savage when you're out there in the bush with 4 guys for multiple days. It's hilarious, man. So
yeah, it was good.
Yeah, he got some great video, some pretty hilarious stuff captured there. That
just short videos too. Like it only has to be a 1-second video. Like I got to show folks this.
Are you gonna play it?
I'm gonna play the clip because it's really all about the sound, but I'll set it up. So we were driving over a bridge, over a river, right? So this is just like throwing a rock over the bridge it was pretty high bridge. Yeah. So Garrett throws this rock over the bridge and this is the sound.
So the thing about that clip is like the more you play it, the funnier it gets.
There's just little things
that make you laugh. The country, Matt, like, so the second, I guess it would have technically been the third day, where we were just on the south side of where we had hiked the previous day. The scenery, man, unbelievable. So just to go out and explore that area, where we threw that rock off the bridge there.
I'm sure there's animals in there. It's just that they weren't using the road that we were on. But
the whole time I was just watching for tracks and trails along the side. I just wasn't seeing anything. And one of the guys that we talked to there, I can't remember where that was, but somebody had mentioned that the area is used very heavily by snowmobilers and ATVers and stuff like that. I remember that. So when he said that, I'm like, that kind of adds up. You know what I mean? Yeah. It pushes these animals out, and there's actually a caribou population in there. So it's interesting to me that sledding is still allowed in there, and you can see why it'd be a good caribou area because of all those old growth forests and stuff like that. But again, coming back to our whole wolf thing, I think both sides are important. I'm not going to deny that, but those areas should be left down to no motor vehicle access, because
the sign says if you see one, then turn around, but it should just say
stay out.
Yeah, that's going to cause a whole whack of emails. But I don't know. I just think like some of those roads, they're not really going anywhere in particular. They're old logging roads. And the sign says, if you see a caribou, do not interfere, turn around. At the end of the day, the roads are not being maintained. There's a lot of other roads in some of these areas. I just shut some of them down. And I think they are doing that, but that's causing a huge controversy in the hunting world right now. We're stepping it on this one.
Yeah, we get in trouble.
We don't want to go too far into this one, maybe until we do a little more research. Maybe we can talk to Jesse and those guys again.
I want to get Jesse back in here at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard because those areas, I think, can be open. But the thing is, you can get way up into the Alpine, like we mentioned, but to go beyond that 6,000 or 6,500 feet mark should be foot access, hiking access only. You know what I mean?
Like I don't think you should be able to rip around there on a dirt bike.
No, I don't think so either. Or a quad or a sled or anything like that, because I just think that those areas are so important. And
it's crazy seeing those areas like when you're living in a city. Like Kelowna's not a big city, but it's a city, and to go into these areas, it's amazing. I'd just rather keep them the way they are.
Yeah, me too, man. Like I said, the contrast from coming from Kelowna in 20 degrees to being up there and just realizing that, like, you feel really small when you're on top of a mountain like that and the weather is intense. Like, if we were unprepared up there and we got lost, we would die instantly. It wouldn't take long, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a humbling experience, and I think those areas should be kept wild and left alone.
For sure.
It just creates more good hunting opportunities, you know what I mean?
For
for those who want to
get off the ATV and walk in there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, one of our other spots is protected. So
no motor vehicle, and it's just crawling with animals.
I kind of look for those areas. I'd rather go there.
For sure.
Because I know that 80% of the people aren't going to be there.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Let's shut it down.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. You heard the man.
But yeah, I don't know. I totally understand that there's other issues around that.
Yeah.
And it's happening a lot in the Kootenays.
Yeah.
Ponderay, and where is the other one? Shaver's Bench. No, not Shaver's Bench. What is it down there? Other side of the river.
Oh, Fort Shepherd.
Fort Shepherd, yeah. There's a lot of things going on around that whole road access thing. So
yeah. You know what? The thing, we've said this many times, and it's only a few people who kind of ruin it for everybody.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because a lot of this stuff is not necessarily the reason the hunters, I think, are upset about this is it's not them that's causing the problems. It's the people with the ATVs and the side-by-sides that are just tearing everything up. That is causing the government to have to shut these roads down, right? Yeah. With a truck, you drive into with the road that's already there, and you kind of have a look around, and you drive back out again. But with side-by-side and an ATV, you can almost make your own road sometimes. So it's not good.
Yep. And I think, again, it's like 90% of people are respectful and treat those areas the way they should be treated. And there's the 10% that just make an absolute mess. And that's all it takes to kind of push it over the edge and you ruin it for everyone else, you know? And it's the same for hunting. And I've sort of really become aware to what we say on this podcast as far as controversial subjects, as far as, you know, even just the Ruger 1022. You know, I have my views on it, but you guys have a point where it's like, it's just one thing that's taken away at a time, and eventually we have less rights as a whole. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. And with that one, we realized that it was kind of it's almost like a misinterpretation of the, they should have just banned the handgun rather than the actual clip.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean?
I don't know. Yeah. We won't get into that again.
Yeah.
I still at this point I'm indifferent on it because anyways, man, and I want to make it clear too while we're on this subject is that Kelly and I sometimes when we're doing this podcast, we're just having a discussion. A lot of this stuff is not planned. Today, we just sat down and started recording with no plan, you know what I mean? So we're really spitballing some of these things, and sometimes a subject, we're just discussing it, you know what I mean? We don't always have all of the facts. So we've had only a couple of people sort of been upset with, you know, how we handled some subjects or whatever, but we're here to learn, you know what I mean? So, you know, if someone disagrees with something, or if we're not looking at something the right way, or if we don't have the right information, then just let us know. Don't get upset with us. You know what I mean? It's a lot of these, there's so many sides to some of these topics. It's not just one or the other. It's they're pretty complicated, some of them. So
yeah.
Anyways,
I think that's it. I don't really have anything else for today.
So if we, when it comes to your LEH is valid as of Friday for muley doe. Do you want to go up to the same spot where I got my buck?
Yeah, I think so. And ideally we can get something before.
I want you to get that 3-point.
Oh yeah. So there's a possibility, because we can only in our region take one mule deer. I could technically trade in my LEH doe for a mule deer buck, because in our region it's any buck. Right now. Yeah. So there is this, all these deer we've been scouting back in September, which we've already talked about. There's a 3-point that is actually the leader of the group. Mike took out one of the 4 points.
The one and only, I think, man, in that group.
Yeah. So we had 3 chances on him. No, 2. 2 solid chances on him, and then you got him on the 3rd.
Yeah.
So this 3-point, if it walked in front of or if it was around when a doe was around, I'd just take the 3-point.
It's cool looking. The rack on this thing is huge.
Yeah, and it's just a bigger animal, right? There's more meat on it.
Yeah.
So there's no point going through all that work. If you can get a bigger deer with more meat, I'd rather go through the work on that. Still a lot of work either way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I guess it comes down to how much time's left on that tag, and then we'll consider it. It's the 21st to the 31st, I believe.
Oh, okay, so
it's a pretty short amount of time.
You taking a day off next week?
Yeah, so actually, because we were going to do that trip. We have another trip with a couple other guys that we do, and I have the Monday to Wednesday off. So,
nice.
Depending on, you know, whether we do the trip or what we want to do with the tag and all that kind of stuff, we'll just work it out. So either way, I'm confident we'll come out with another deer that we can talk about on a future episode. Too. So it's good. I think this podcast, we started at the right time. We had enough time to kind of recap all of our learning. And then by the time we were done that, we got into bear, and then we had that whole episode. And then we kind of got into a successful hunting season. So it's gone well. Yeah.
I was starting to wonder if we were going to have to shut this thing down.
Yeah.
If we'd gone through
another unsuccessful hunting season.
These guys are
here's
awesome.
What we learned.
Yeah. It feels good, man. And I think that's a good point to any guys who are new to this. It's going to take a couple years, but it's going to pay off.
It's going to take a couple years, and it's going to take some dedication and some research and some dollars and some mileage. But it will pay off. You just got to be at the right place at the right time. You can't be there if you don't put the time in. So
no. Yeah, man, it'll happen. Yeah. It was cool, man. I kind of listened back to a previous episode before I got the buck, and just us sort of talking about what was going to happen on the trip and everything like that. And we almost sort of predicted what was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild. And there was one episode where I recorded myself after missing that 4-point that I later got and being frustrated. And it's kind of cool to listen back to some of that, even though I hate listening to myself, but it's kind of neat to have this, it's almost like a hunting diary. And even this hunting season, when I listen back to some of that, there's some of the details I've already sort of forgotten. But to listen back and sort of remember specific days and what was happening is pretty cool, man. So anyone, who's, I urge people to, either write their trips down or do their own podcast or whatever, because it's a pretty neat resource. And when we were with Garrett and the guys, Garrett did not want to record that podcast, but he's glad that we did now. And I sort of mentioned to him, it's like, when we're 60 years old, it's going to be neat when we're hunting in that same spot and we can listen to this podcast and remember, that massive elk that he took down. So it's good stuff. Anyways.
Cool. Well, yeah, we'll touch base again when we get this doe / buck, depending on what happens.
October, you've been splendid.
Yep. Indeed.
And then, as usual, everyone, he can go to the website, therookiehunter.com. Our email address is therookiehunterpodcast@gmail.com. Don't be shy. Reach out. We love getting emails. We try to get back to all of them, and we read a good chunk of them on the show too. So thanks for supporting us. We've had a pretty amazing month of downloads too, so that's great. As long as we see a growth each month, we'll continue to do this thing, and we've got some exciting things coming up. So stay tuned.
For sure.
Happy hunting. Cheers, guys.